welcome back to my YouTube channel. How are you all? I hope you are all fine and doing well. In today's video, we are diving into the world of crochet work. What is crochet work and what is the process of crochet work and what are the type of crochet work. And some viewers are get confused in what is the difference between and similarity between crochet work and knitting. So you will also spot the light on this. Crochet work fabric is begun by placing a slip knot loop on the hook. Through other methods such as magic ring or simple folding over yarn may be used. Pulling another loop through the first loop and repeating the process to create a chain of suitable length. The chain is either turned and worked in rows or joining by the beginning of the row with a slip stitch and worked in round can be also created by working many stitches into a single loop. Stitches are made by pulling one or more loop through each loop of the chain at any one time at the end of stitch. There is only one loop left on the hook. Tunisian crochet, however, draw on all the loop of an entire row into a long hook before working them off one at a time. Like knitting, crochet can be worked either flat or in round. There are three main types of basic stitch: chain stitch, slip stitch, double crochet, half treble, treble and double treble. While the horizontal distance covered by these basic stitch is the same, they differ in height and can be placed with the length of chain stitch when required. The more advanced stitch are often combination of these basic stitches or are made of by inserting the hook into the work in unusual location. More advanced stitch include shell stitch, V-stitch, spike stitch, Afghan stitch, butterfly, popcorn, cluster and crocodile stitch. There are two main notation of basic stitches. One used across Europe, Australia, India and other crochet notion. The other in US and Canada. Crochet is traditionally worked from a written pattern using standard abbreviation or from a diagram, thus enabling non-English speaker to use English-based pattern to help counter confusion when reading pattern. A diagramming system using standard international notation has come into use in the United States. Crochet terminology and sizing guideline as well as standard for yarn and hook labeling are primarily regulated by the Craft Yarn Council. Another terminological difference is known as tension and gauge. Individual crocheter work yarn with a loose or tight hold, and if unmeasured, these difference can lead to significant size change in finished garment that have the same number of stitches. In order to control for this inconsistency, printed crochet instructions include a standard for the number of stitches across a standard swatch of fabric. An individual crocheter began work by producing a test swatch and compensating for any discrepancy by changing to a smaller or larger hook. One of the more obvious differences in that crochet use one hook, while much knitting use two needles. In most crochet, the artisan usually has one live stitch on the hook, with the exception being Tunisian crochet, while a knitter keeps an entire row of stitches active stimulously. Drop stitches, which can unravel unknitted fabric, rarely interfere with crochet work due to second structural difference between knitting and crochet. In knitting, each stitch is spotted by the corresponding stitch in the row above and you spot the corresponding stitch in the row below. Whereas crochet stitches are only spotted by and spot the stitches on either side of it. If a stitch is a finished crochet item breaks, the stitches above and below remain intact. And because of the complex looping of each stitch, the stitches on either side are unlikely to come loosely unless heavily stressed. Round or cylindrical patterns are simply to produce with regular crochet hook, but cylindrical knitting required either a set of circular needle or 3 to 5 special double-ended needles. Many crocheted items are composed of individual motifs, which are then joined, either by sewing or crocheting, whereas knitting is usually composed of one fabric such as interlace. Free-form crochet is a technique that can create interesting shapes in 3 dimensions because new stitches can be made independently of previous stitches almost anywhere in the crochet pieces. It is generally accomplished by building shape or structured element into existing fabric at any place the crafter desired. Knitting can be accomplished by machine, while many crochet stitches can only be crafted by hand. The height of knitting and crocheted stitches also are different. A single crochet stitch is twice the height of knit stitch is the same yarn size and comparable diameter tool, and a double crochet stitch is about 4 times the height of a knit stitch. While most crochet is made with a hook, there is also a method of crocheting with a knitting loom. This is called loom chat. Slip stitch crochet is very similar to knitting. Each stitch in slip stitch crochet is formed the same way as a knit or purl stitch, which is then bound off. A person working in slip stitch crochet can follow a knitted pattern with knit, purls and cables and get a similar result. It is a common perception that crochet produces a thicker fabric than knitting, tend to have less given than knitted fabric, and use approximately a third more yarn for a comparable project than knitted item. Although it is true when comparing a single crochet swatch with a stocking swatch, both made with the same size yarn and needle hook, it is not necessarily true for crochet in general. Most crochet uses far less than 1 to 3 more yarn than thinner yarn. To knit crochet and slip stitch can in some cause use less yarn than knitting for comparable pieces. According to sources claiming to have tested 1-3 more yarn assertion a single crochet stitch using yarn over use less yarn than single stitch to produce the same amount of fabric. Cluster stitches, which are in fact multiple stitch work together, this will use the most length. I hope viewers you gain information from this video. If you want more ideas, then also leave the comment below. Standard crochet stitches like SC and DC also produce a thicker fabric, more like knit garter stitch. This is a part of why they use more yarn. Slip stitch can produce a fabric much like stocking and is thinner before use. Any yarn can be either knitted or crocheted, provided needle or hook of the correct size are used, but the coarse properties should be taken into account. For example, lofty thick woolen yarn tend to function better when knitted, which do not crush the airy texture, while thin and tightly spun yarn help to achieve the firm texture required for amigurumi crochet. Most crochet use one hook and work upon one stitch at a time. Crochet may be worked in circular round without any specialized tool. Knitting uses 2 or more straight needles that carry multiple stitches. Unlike crochet, knitting requires specialized needle to create circular round. For amigurumi, crocheting creates a knobbier and more structured texture compared with knitting. I hope viewers you gain information from this video. If you want more ideas like these, then viewers also leave the comment below, so I will upload more ideas like